Very reassuring words there. And we also spoke to George Hibberd. Now, he's a former commercial pilot for EasyJet. He actually worked there for 4 years as a pilot. And he's now a campaigner for a climate responsible aviation industry group. It's a worker-led group called Safe Landing. He's based in the United Kingdom. And he talked us through how pilots are actually trained.
I'm very lucky that I haven't had any experience of flying during a war situation. But what I can imagine as a pilot is it's very disruptive. There's lots of planes that have been grounded, your schedule is completely upended. It's going to really impact your work stability, first of all. I can imagine you're also going to be quite concerned about the safety of the flights. That's the number one priority in aviation. That has always been and always will be. So that safety element, thankfully, is something you don't really think about day to day, but this will be a completely new element to the flight. And just as a really small thing, you'll be taking much more fuel onto the aircraft because you'll be taking routes that you don't normally take to avoid Iran, obviously, and in case of like disruption at either end, because flights are all over the place at the moment. So ultimately, it's a really disruptive and quite anxiety-inducing situation.
What I also said in the interview that didn't make it into the final cut, sadly, is that whilst the price of oil is going up as a result of this war, so is the price of so-called sustainable aviation fuel, also thwarting any efforts on that front. What we're also seeing is that aircraft are having to carry more fuel and take longer routes, also increasing emissions, and that's not even mentioning the impacts of bombing oil depots in Iran. And we're going to see more of these sorts of global shocks moving forwards, things like pandemics, financial crises, wars over resources, and climate shocks. So we're going to need to make sure that the aviation industry is resilient to these shocks and has a plan for the future, a plan for workers. And the way that we think we can do this is by involving workers in big decisions through mechanisms like a workers' assembly, where you get a representational group of aviation workers from across the industry to come together, address a question, listen to expert evidence, and give recommendations to policymakers. And this is a really good way of empowering aviation workers to decide the future of our industry. If you want to find out more about workers' assemblies and our work, head to safe-landing.org.